the doctor called me out, and Stacy stayed with Micah, and she called me into this small room. And I remember her just looking at me, and it was just me and her. And she said, we found tumors in his lungs, nodules in his lungs. And she said, there is no doubt in my mind that this is cancer. You'll be transferred tonight to a children's hospital in Tampa, probably within the next hour. And at that moment, I think in my mind, my Enneagram 8 popped right on out, and I knew that there was solution, and I felt that there would be solution. It was more of like, okay, so what are we going to do? I didn't feel defeated at that moment. It was more of like, okay, give me all the solutions so we can figure this thing out. So I went back in and I hugged Stacy. And when I hugged Stacy, I heard God tell me two things. And I heard him audibly, like loud and clear, like he was right in my ear. And, I've heard God several times in my life. I hear him a lot. He shows me things. I see pictures. He's always talking and I'm always listening. So I'm thankful for that. But this was one of those moments where he spoke much louder than normal. And I heard him say, do what they tell you to do and fast and furious. And the do what they tell you to do is something that I needed to hear because we're very healthy. We're very natural. We're very, the thought of giving my child over to doctors to pump him full of chemo was not exactly, my best moment of having to trust somebody else with my child. And so I needed to hear that from God. I needed to hear, do what they tell you to do. And so and the fast and furious part really made me nervous because I was like, is the cancer fast and furious, or what is this going to look like? And later I found out that he really meant that the entire journey was going to be extremely fast and extremely, furious in many different ways. And God was going to be fast and furious. And so we transferred over to the other hospital. Stacy and Mike, her husband, Uncle Mike, they really worked on getting a good plan into place. And they told us what to do, because at that point Bobby and I we couldn't make choices. We couldn't even process what was going on with the 6 other kids. And so I had to pump breast milk for Haven. So I'm sitting there pumping, trying to get the milk home for the baby. Bobby has all the kids. I'm in charge of Micah. I take Micah over. Stacy and Mike get to the house, and my children love Stacy and Mike. And so I knew that piece of my life was going to be happy and safe, and my kiddos were going to be great. And I think that was so important to know. And so then Bobby came over to Tampa, and we slept for maybe an hour, if that. Micah was in so much pain through the night, on and off. I think I even slept on the bathroom floor with him for a good hour because he was in so much pain. So everything was a blur. They did 1 billion scans, a billion this, 1 billion that, testing, just a ton of testing. And I was a mess, and everybody came to see us. Our hospital room was just like overflowing with our church family and friends. And I was a children's pastor before I went on a sabbatical at the resting place in Tampa. And so we just had a great community, and still do. I mean, distance doesn't dictate community, I don't believe, especially during COVID,